How's it going, fight fans? Welcome to mindforcombat. If you're new to this channel, my name is Rohan, and this is my platform where I do MMA and boxing related content. For this video, I'm going to be breaking down the upcoming featherweight main event between the returning Mexican superstar Yair Rodriguez and proficient knockout artist, devastating knockout artist even, Jeremy Little Heathen Steven in the main event of the upcoming UFC Fight Night card. I tell you what, on the back of Don Cerrone versus Justin Gaethje, for us to get another main event like this, we're in for a treat. You know what is interesting is that this card isn't a very strong card. The co-main event is Carla Esparza versus Alexa Grasso, and I'm not a huge fan of either of those ladies. I'll be watching the card. There's some intriguing fights for maybe some future potential interesting matchups, but this is not a stacked card in any way, shape or form. But the main event is a good one. It's one that's going to be a lot of fun. There's some key things to consider coming into this main event. Firstly, Yair Rodriguez has been very inactive since his loss to Frankie Edgar, really. Since his loss to Frankie Edgar, he took over a year and a half off when he fought Korean Zombie, and he fought the Korean Zombie last year. So, you know, he's had about one fight in about 3 years. So this has not been a very active young man. He's still very young, still got a long road ahead of him. So maybe that's a good thing. Maybe he's used that time to, you know, tighten up his skills and weaknesses have been lessened, and he's worked on the things that have caused him trouble in the past, namely his wrestling against Frankie Edgar. That doesn't really figure to be tested in this fight though, because he fights Jeremy Stephens, who's really just a historic knockout artist. He likes to slug, he likes to get into wars, he likes to hurt people, he likes them brawls, and that's where he shines really. In that violence is where he thrives. So to break down this fight, let's go into the detail of the tape. The first number jumps off at you is the fact that Yair Rodriguez is still only 26 years old. Think about when he won the Latin America Ultimate Fighter, and then what he's gone on to do, being the super prospect, being in the main events against the likes of Alex Caceres and BJ Penn, one of his 7 losses, and everything that he's done. He's still only 26 years old, even with the incredible amounts of inactivity he's had over the last 3 years. And he fights Jeremy Stephens, who's 7 years his senior, and who has lost his last 2 fights coming into this fight. You got to wonder, at 145 pounds, when reflexes and stuff like that matter, and that's the first things to go, he's 33 years old, he's been around for a long time. Are we going to be starting to see the diminish of Jeremy Stephens? That's possible. Maybe not necessarily the case coming into this fight, but it's something that bears witnessing. Their experience is one of the things I spoke about in terms of their age, and that's something that's reflected in the record. So Yair Rodriguez has a very sort of upcoming record with 11 wins and 2 losses. He ain't had a ton of fights. He's got some good UFC experience. I believe he's 7-1 in the UFC, and obviously he fought in the Ultimate Fighter, which is really good UFC experience, but it's nowhere near the level of experience that Jeremy Stephens has, who's got a record of 28 wins and 16 losses. Adding to the fact that Yair Rodriguez has been inactive over the last 3 years and Jeremy Stephens hasn't, is that going to impact Yair Rodriguez? And I think that could potentially be an issue coming into the fight. Let's watch this fight and see how it plays out. Yair Rodriguez stands at 5'10.5", which makes him exactly 2 inches taller than Jeremy Stephens, who's 5'8.5". So 2-inch height advantage, and this is going to be a striking fight. So he's probably going to use that height advantage. The reach is even. They both got 71-inch reach. What I don't know, and what I do wish I did know, is the leg reach, because Yair Rodriguez, in my opinion, is going to have a very big leg reach advantage over Jeremy Stephens, and he's got a very kick-heavy attack. So that's going to be very interesting to watch this fight play out. When we're talking about their styles, well, Yair Rodriguez has got that striking style where he likes to throw wild strikes. So he's got that wild striking style. He's got a Taekwondo background, and he uses that. He throws them cartwheel kicks, spinning kicks, looping kicks, jumping kicks, flying knees. He knocked out Andre Fili with that switch kick in the midair, kick the can kick or something like that. That's what they came up with in the Team Alpha Male when Paige Van Zandt done it. It's something ridiculous like that. But anyways, so he likes to use that. For Jeremy Stephens, he's a stand-up brawler. He's been kicking a lot more lately, i.e. his win over Gilbert Melendez, and he's been improving his skill set. But where he shines is when he throws his hands on people. He's got a lot of power in his hands. He can knock people out with those hands, and that's really where he shines and he thrives, and that's where he's going to want to utilize his skills in this fight, particularly it being a stand-up fight that could appeal to him. For Yair Rodriguez, his key wins, well, I said Andre Fili is a key win, and really other than that, his best career win is his Korean Zombie win, where he was losing the entire fight, and he got that last second come from behind crazy elbow knockout victory. But you know, you have to be honest about this. That was was unexpected. Let's just put it like that. That's his best win. Other than that, he's beaten Bruce Leroy Caceres, who's a veteran UFC fighter, and a win over BJ Penn, which really doesn't mean much in this day and age, but he has got that for what that's worth. But the best win he's got is over the Korean Zombie, who's a top tier fighter, no doubt. Jeremy Stephens has got a long list of good wins, including his most recent stretch. But if we go throughout his UFC tenure, he's beaten Rafael dos Anjos when Rafael dos Anjos was coming up, so it's not the same RDA that won the title, but still a good win. He beat Sam Stout. For those of you who are maybe a bit more new to UFC, he was a really good, durable fighter back in the days. Beat Darren Elkins, who, as we know, went on a good run after that loss. And Darren Elkins is just a good, durable talent as it goes. He's beaten Dennis Bermudez, who was once a contender. He's beaten Henna Barao, the former bantamweight world champion. He beat Do Ho Choi, who was another really talented Korean fighter who's now serving his 2-year military service in Korea. So that's one to watch out for. He's beaten Josh Emmett, who's won 2 in a row since, and Josh Emmett's a brutal knockout. It's at 145, so that's actually another good key win. And of course, he beat Gilbert Melendez, which is almost similar to beating BJ Penn in this day and age. But he got that win, so that's something to consider. The issues coming into this fight for Yair Rodriguez is definitely going to be his inexperience in comparison to Jeremy Stephens. Will Jeremy Stephens be able to exploit that? Maybe. And his inactivity coming into this fight, having had only one fight in 3 years, you've got to wonder how that's going to impact him. I will be watching that closely. Jeremy Stephens, his issue is going to be, well, you always know what you're getting with Jeremy Stephens and what he's going to want to do. So he's got that predictable game plan, and that's going to be his biggest issue. And I feel like where he is so predictable, Yair Rodriguez may be able to use that to leverage his victory in this fight. The X factor for Yair Rodriguez is going to be his youth and freshness. He's still young, he's still hungry. He hasn't had over 40 professional fights. He hasn't lost 16 professional fights. So he's going to be really young, hungry, he's super explosive, and his creativity on his feet are all going to be his X factors. For Jeremy Stephens, his X factor is simple. He carries dynamite in both hands, and I think that's what he's going to be looking to use. And it's not just hands. He's got head kick KOs over Ronnie Jason back in the days. He got on a flying knee KO over Dennis Bermudez. So he's a super, super dangerous knockout artist, and that's going to be his X factor. Now, how does this fight play out? So I can see an argument for this fight going either way. I can see an argument for it going with Jeremy Stephens, with him having the experience, weathering the early Yair Rodriguez storm, and being able to pick apart Yair Rodriguez in the later rounds, particularly with his power, being able to hurt Yair Rodriguez. I can see that happening, or I can see Yair Rodriguez doing enough damage early, keeping Jeremy Stephens at a distance with his kicks, and riding through to a decision. This is a really hard fight for me to pick, and I'm not sure which way I want to go to. But if I was to have to make a pick, and for sake of this video I would say that this fight is definitely going to be fought in the feet. What that tells me is that both of these men will be getting into striking exchanges, and what I know getting into this is that one of these men has more tools at his dispense when it comes to striking, and that being Yair Rodriguez, because he kicks. Also, Yair Rodriguez being slightly taller, slightly fresher, quite a bit fresher, quite a bit younger, and having a much more diverse kicking range means that he's going to be able to utilize more tools, and he's a fresher man. The layoff should have helped him, but I'm not convinced that it will not be a negative as well. It's a really hard fight to pick, but for the sake of this video, for my official prediction, I'm going to pick that Yair Rodriguez is going to be able to come out here. Hopefully he's going to be a lot calmer, he's going to let the fight play out, and he's going to utilize his kicks to keep a distance. And as the fight goes on, we're going to start to see the difference in the striking show, similarly to the Zabit versus Jeremy Stephens fight. But let's watch this fight play out. Obviously Jeremy Stephens super dangerous, and he might be able to get a knockout win in this. That's always a danger with Jeremy Stephens. But I have to pick Yair Rodriguez for the victory. So fight fans, let me know below how you think this fight's going to go. Let me know what you thought about my breakdown. And if it's the first time you checked out any of my content, then be sure to stick around by hitting the subscribe button. Check out some of my other content. And thank you for watching, guys. I'm Rohan, Mindful Combat.